Hello, this is Marc Altmann in the Marc Altmann Show tonight, and you're very much welcome. We are here in the studio in Chesham tonight, and I want to introduce you tonight into with a very special person, I must admit. I just have met her in front of the studio, and we had a little chat, you see, but I think this chat will be amazing today. It's Pea Ramshaw. Hi, Pea, I'm here. No?
Hi, Marc.
How are you?
I'm so good. It's great to meet you.
Wonderful. It's the first time for you to be on radio?
And not this. No. I've used to have been on a few shows. So.
Wonderful. So you know what it's all about, yes. And can you please tell us? Can you please tell the listener what you're doing?
Yeah, I am a sex, love, and relationship coach.
Wonderful. What is it?
I am teaching how it's okay. In fact, it's rather beautiful to access your sexuality, your sensuality, and to be a sexual being.
Yes, and a sexual being. What do you mean with that?
To allow energies to flow through your whole being, which you can connect to the universe and to allow every breath into your body to be sexually potent and powerful. In a society where we have demonized sexuality and really sort of shut it up in a box, I'm enabling people and allowing people to have conversations about what being sexual is.
Okay, and when people think about sex, they immediately think about something maybe, okay, it's fun, but most people also, especially people who are spiritual, they might think it's a dirty thing.
Yeah, and it can be a dirty thing, and isn't that amazing? You know, but
that's a good point.
But sex. We've sort of decided, or we've been told really early on in life that sex is bad, or it's wrong, or it's only to be done in certain ways, and it's time to blow some of this to bits really, and to look at what actually is right for you, and so if in the right setting, in the right ways, of course, sexuality, of course, having sex can be very, very spiritual happening and an amazing experience.
And what is so spiritual about it?
The connecting to the divine through your body, and maybe that's with another person, is an astonishing route to the divine, an amazing meditation. Connecting through all of your chakras with the ground, through into the to the universe above you, with each breath of your being is just, of course, one of the most amazing cosmic experiences ever.
And have you had this yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry for my silly question, maybe, but in the end of the day, it's all important to really. I think there are people out there people listen to us, and maybe they don't have any clue what we're talking about. So we try to keep it first of all a bit simple, and we start from the very beginning. Okay, so you are experiencing this yourself. It's not only read in a book or.
No. I've been on. I've just done a 2-year course. To learn how to teach some of the skills to others.
Okay.
And before that, I was I went on training for my own ways.
Okay.
But I've been I suppose about 25 years of learning different paths.
Yes.
And realizing just how important how the mind works is. And freeing the mind from judgment is so important. And
very good point, I think. Very good point.
It's so important. And I spent a long time researching and walking the path of the Magdalene and the Black Madonnas.
Yes.
And learning about the power of the feminine, which has been demonized for so long.
Very much.
And realizing that this is an incredible, potent, powerful sexual power, demonized, and wanting to free it.
Yes.
And so I then went and learnt pathways of freeing this energy. And so whether that's walking on the land in the energy pathways, or within the body, I went and learnt to be able to teach other people this. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And have you done pilgrimages in regards to the Black Madonna?
Yeah. But I was very lucky to have been taught by a shamanic teacher called Franco Santoro, who teaches roots to the Black Madonna and to the divine, and through dancing.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So movement through the body can just heal so much, can't it?
Yes.
And I spent time in Italy with a lady called Alessandra Belloni, learning to dance using a tambourine, so the power of sound to clear blockages, stagnant energies through the body.
In our chakras,
movement.
or in the entire body, maybe.
Well, where you hold the tambourine is where you're going to be clearing. So if you hold that at womb level, then that's deemed to be a place of female madness. Or you can hold it higher. The Spanish would hold it higher, so to clear the mind.
So it's all about the lower and the higher chakras in the inner center.
Wherever you feel the blockage is.
Wherever, And when I think about myself, for example, I'm very much powerful on the higher chakras, but my lower chakras are not that powerful, I think, or I feel. Has this something to do with the fact that I'm blocked there, or can you deblock that, or how does it work?
The fact that you've just stated that and made that conscious means that you're ready for that to move. So it's very obvious when you look at you that you have so much work done here, but not integrated it. And that's such an easy thing to do, and to be done with breath. You said about the pilgrimages, and I just wanted to add in that I was very lucky in 2005 through to 2008 to do a series of work across the Michael and Mary lines that are across the country. The two powerful energy, one male, one female lines that come in through Cornwall and then off through East Anglia.
The symbol is the rose, isn't it?
The serpent lines, and so there's
so
there's the Michael and the Mary lines.
Okay.
And there are so following the rose. I wouldn't know quite what you meant by
so
that.
I have read a book, the Path of Maria Magdalena, and that was all about the rose.
The rose.
The rose is a symbolism for her, or
yes,
something
absolutely.
like
that. I've just got a new house that's got a staircase with a rose carved in the staircase.
Wonderful.
from the time of Elizabeth.
Really?
And absolutely following the rose.
Yes.
I'll introduce you to people that teach about roses.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
It'd be amazing for you to have them on here. But no, the Michael and Mary are serpent lines that serpent across the country. They're energies, so they're always moving, and where they meet are some really important places. So Glastonbury, Avebury, right across. So in Glastonbury, the male line makes this phallus, and the female line makes a vessel, and they make love on the Tor. And then they serpent off, and by the time they get to Avebury, they're in perfect balance. So the male and female are at Avebury in the temple there. It's the tantric temple of perfect balance, of sacred union of male and female energies.
Wonderful.
They go off.
Do you sense it? Do you feel it yourself
This is
while
really,
you're there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is also really well documented and mapped by some incredibly important work that's been done with dowsing. And so these are books that you can read. I was lucky enough to work on the energy points, on the nodal points, starting in East Anglia, heading down to Avebury, down to Cornwall, back up to Avebury, then back out to East Anglia, working at each of these nodal points, to standing as divine feminine with someone who was holding divine masculine, and energetically doing the great rite at all of these nodal points. So the pilgrimage was of a sexual nature across these.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's truly
Absolutely
spectacular.
great, yes. And it's so amazing that you are aware of that. You see, most people are not even aware that this exists.
I think it's really important to know the area that you live in and to know what's around. And so I grew up in Epping Forest and was surrounded by astonishing magical places, and was very lucky to quite early on go to Royston Cave. Do you know Royston Cave?
No, I don't.
So Royston Cave is on the nodal point of the Michael and Mary lines.
Wonderful.
It's beneath the ground in the middle of Royston is an initiation chamber. It's bell-shaped. You can walk into it now. It costs a few pounds to go in. And on the wall are carvings of Mary Magdalene, Jesus and the children, and the most astonishing carvings, which are attributed to the Knights Templar, but feels much older. And when you are in ceremony there, I'm a great ceremonialist, I love ritual.
Yes.
The place fills up with all these beings, and you can barely move. It's it is truly amazing. So my pilgrimage is, yes, absolutely, but based very much on the land, in this country, taking people to sacred spaces,
Yes.
sacred because of the energy there, but also the ancestral connections and connecting in. I was incredibly lucky to live just outside of Avebury and to work with the land, so the crop circles.
Yes.
and I worked for the National Trust for a while, taking groups into different spaces where I drummed. And
Yes.
with the drumming, I'd take them in. So say we were going to the Long Barrow. Do you know the Long Barrow at Avebury?
Not.
I must take you, Mark. It's
Yes,
astonishing.
please, yeah.
So
This is the beginning of something big
yeah,
here.
you'd love it. So you walk sort of slightly up a hill. It's daunting. I go in front drumming. We go at dusk. It's sort of a bit edgy and a little spicy. I feel very brave going up front, and you walk up the hill. It's a bit of a trek. When you get there, there's the River Kennet on the route. So there's Divine Feminine, and behind you is Silbury Hill. This is it's astonishingly beautiful. And then you walk in. There are these huge stones, and I would ask you to kiss the stones before you walked in to show some respect. And we go into this chamber, and the chamber is dark and it's stone. And we go to the back of the chamber, and the back is the cervix of the it's the womb.
Wow.
And when we drum in there, and the light goes down, and you can feel the cervix just start to move. So it's stone, and
Like giving birth, yeah?
oh, just sort of being alive, really.
Yes.
And then so many groups have taken in there, the people have felt just like a gasp of air come through this stone and know that the stone is moving.
Yes.
And it's so beautiful, and the drumming makes it very powerful in there. And
you increase the frequency in drumming, yeah?
you resonate with the stones.
And you resonate with the stones,
Yeah,
or do you put your frequency into the stones?
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
But it feels like you're asking the stones to be aware you're there, and so people.
And you
will-
allow entrance. You allowed entrance then to another certain dimension, you can say.
It's certainly an authority comes through.
Yes.
And you're shown. Every group I've taken in there have been shown incredible power animals and had amazing experiences, and over and over again have been shown this wall at the back, this stone sort of slightly move, and behind there, this black pool of is sort of a sexual energy, protected by a beast which is sort of dragon, sort of serpent, sort of eel.
Nature spirit, yeah.
Huge, powerful eel. And so you would ask the eel to allow you through to this space. And time after time after time, when I've taken people on this pilgrimage, they've met this great eel. And so I wanted to learn more about it, and wanted to learn more about this protector, serpent eel, of this sexual pull. And
Wonderful.
it's important because for so many of us, I mean, where do you go to ask about sexual issues? Where do you go to ask? And who knows this stuff? I mean, if you go to your doctor, there would be embarrassed and hope that you weren't going to ask about why you weren't sexually feeling alive and connected.
And I think it is for our listeners, it might be also a big issue for some of them. And it's good that we are so free to talk about these things now on a spiritual level and also on a normal third dimensional level. And we can talk about it on all kind of levels, which is great. And I only want to play a little song now for us, and then we come back.
What you going to play?
Yes, it's Touch the Sky. I think Touch the Sky is good for St. Paul. And then we are back. And it's amazing to talk to you. I really love it. And if someone wants to ring us, our phone number is 01494 911 922. If you have any questions to Pea or me concerning sexuality, energy, feel free to ring. We're here. Okay? Okay, and now we are back here in our show, and what else wanted to be? It's so amazing. I'm so overwhelmed, I must admit. So, what is it? Your energy, or what is it?
Well, that you're overwhelmed by.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
But it's so nice. It's really nice. It's like having a champagne.
Oh, fabulous. Or bubbles.
Yes,
Bubbly.
bubbly.
Yeah.
No, yes, that's it. Yes. Yeah, and
but we know each other of old, don't we?
I think so. Yeah. This is something else.
Rather
Yeah,
wonderful.
we both know each other already. Yeah, and the nature spirit aspect in regards to sexuality, I think it's a very important task because without nature spirits, we can't manifest, right?
Without nature spirits? No, I think we can manifest without nature spirits, absolutely. I mean, we're manifesting all the time without knowing.
Without knowing, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do, because we are creators, yeah?
We are creators.
Yes, God lives in us.
But to consciously create is a very different thing. So to be aware that God lives in us, the divine is within us, within with everything, and to consciously be creating is a very different thing.
It is.
So we unconsciously create without connecting to spirits and beings all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And we also create with our mind other entities.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I'm also convinced about.
Yeah.
Because some people live in Shadowland, I always say. We create with our unconscious negative thinking.
Yeah.
And this negative thinking attracts or also creates a certain kind of entities down there.
Of course. I spent a long time understanding and working to clear entities. That was my full-time job.
Okay.
And I suppose one of the worst situations I had to work with was an entity that was really trying to destroy a lady, a rather beautiful woman, and it was hideous, horrible, and I didn't know what to do to fight this terrifically horrible entity.
Yes.
And I went and spent a long time working this out.
And do you see this or do you feel it?
I feel and hear, really, but also smell. So
smell, yes, me too.
The smell of entities is very,
clear sentence.
Very. It's got a smell which is sort of a bit spicy, a bit like dead, burnt blood, and disgusting.
Yeah, I always say it smells a bit rotten.
And a bit more than that if it's evil. Yeah. And
yes.
So with this, I learnt a lot about clearing, moving entities, and wanted to fight. And I was trying to come up with the biggest weapon I could come up with, and over and over and over, I'm taught that the biggest weapon is love, and
yes, it is.
So that entities don't actually even exist. They only exist if you choose to feed that fear energy, and so whether the entity is disease or fear or a dark spot in nature or in a house, if you can pour in love, it's gone. Yeah. So I've been lucky enough to work to remove entities from people, and always it's been just by very powerfully pouring in white light of I love you, 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 and the entity just shrivels up and is gone.
Wow.
So yes, the negative, but it doesn't even exist.
Yes, and why are they there?
It's when you've got something that's beautiful and pure, things just jump on. They just jump on board, and they're soon be gotten rid of. Yeah. I think we, as a race of beings, have been given the freedom to think as we like, individually as we like.
Yes.
And we, we hold ourselves back from paradise. It's almost wrong to.
We hold us back from paradise.
Yeah.
It's a powerful expression. I love it.
And we find it easier. We can find. I have to be careful with my wording, because it's so powerful. But
we need this power. We need this.
No, but it's almost easier to be not fully well, to be not fully powerful
in our society.
Yeah.
Still, because of victim consciousness. I think the victim consciousness is still big.
And
you moan, then you are maybe treated in a way where you...
I think it's time for us to learn again that paradise is right here, right now.
Yes, I agree. This is heaven.
And and if you want to see this as a beautiful day or a terrible day, is our choice. That's our conscious choice, and we have a responsibility to remind each other of this conscious choice. So this morning I was moaning about something, and a friend said to me, you need to watch this film again. And I said, I've watched the film before. And I was like, oh God, you're right, I need to watch the film. Thank you. And refigured my thinking for the whole day, because you can ruin your whole day, can't you, by deciding it's an awful day.
Yeah.
And so I've spent, I worked in health for over 30 years and have been privileged enough to spend a lot of time with people who are poorly.
Yes.
And it's made me realise just how important being well is, and how lucky we are to be well, and to every day that I'm well is just so grateful, and gratitude is
Wonderful.
So important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right.
So important. Yes. So I have a morning ritual of giving thanks and gratitude, saying, I am grateful for, thank you for, and
but I'm also thankful for the negative. Because there's a challenge that we face, and why shouldn't we say thank you? Because with this challenge we can find discernment.
Then why would you see it as negative?
Yeah, but you see, negative is not the thing, but it's not even negative to me.
It's not even negative.
That's the thing, no? But I got a question in from someone in Germany here.
Fabulous.
It's Nadine Nokanovic. Hi, Nadine, in Munich. She asked, what about asexual people who are asexual?
What does she mean by that?
I don't know, because it's a written...
Asexual means flicking bits of ferns to each other. But so the most sexual...
people who are non-sexual, I understand in there.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are non-sexual, even in relationship,
Yeah.
But if I was to answer that, the most sexual woman I've ever met was a lady called Patricia from Mullingar.
Okay.
She was a hermit. And she sat powerfully sexually. She sat with her breasts like she loved them.
Wow.
And she sat like she sat on an amazing, excuse my French, but an amazing cock. And she just sat there looking like the most sexually powerful woman in all the world.
Wonderful.
And yet she's a nun.
Yes.
And she works as a hermit, and she works for the bishop. Her job is to pray day and night for the village that she sits next to. And she took me to Ely Cathedral. We were on silent retreat together.
Yes.
She took me to Ely Cathedral, and she said, she had. We were allowed to talk at certain points, and she said to me, "I'm going to show you the statue in Ely Cathedral of Mary, Mother of God." And I said, "I've seen it before. It's rubbish." She said, "Come with me." So I sat there, and I said, "No, I've seen it." And so she said, "Now look." And so the most sexually powerful woman I've ever met, a hermit nun, shows me the sculpture of Mary, Mother of God, and she has got breasts, and they're, abundant, and she's got hips, and they are abundant. And I look, and I think, oh yeah, okay. And she said to me, "Look again." And I looked again, and she said, "Look at her foot," and her foot's just slowly coming out from beneath her blue dress. And I said, "Okay, I see the foot." And she said to me, "This is monumental, because she is taking a conscious step into the life that's being given to her. She's choosing to follow a path." And
wonderful.
I realised that here is a sexual being choosing to be the Mother of God. And I am sat next to a hermit, the most sexual woman I've ever met. And so asexual, it's interesting. So holding sexual energies and allowing them to connect right through your body so you are powerful and potent can be to do with having sex with someone else, but doesn't have to be.
That's interesting.
So Patricia from Mullingar, this hermit, an astonishingly powerful sexual being, holding the energy, connecting it through the earth, and working, for the divine, but not in sexual union with someone else.
So sexuality, in the end of the day, is something that belongs to us. It has nothing to do with spreading it or whatever, but it's a vital force.
It has a lot to do with spreading it as well, and sharing it and connecting and growing it, but it doesn't have to. And so it's a bit like if you look at a flower, and a flower has got this spectacular, unconditional love of blossoming, blooming, gorgeousness and colour and scent and... Is that not the most sexually powerful? It's just, and the flower is all about sexuality.
Wonderful.
Isn't it?
Yeah, one very good example.
And so your friend in Germany,
yes,
for her to be this beautiful, potent, sexual, powerful flower,
yes,
she doesn't have to be in union with anyone else for that. And it becomes our duty, once we're conscious of this, to allow this energy to flow through us, because it is the divine.
yes.
At some point in time, a long time ago, it was decided that sexuality was bad, and yet sat within the Bible, of course, is Song of Solomon and this beautiful sexual dance.
Yes.
And yet we've been told, and I think religion has so much to do with this, that sexuality is bad, and so it's blocked. And
what is it that we hold back there? What is this? Because when I open my heart, for example, it's open and it's giving, and when I'm giving, I can't help it anymore. Okay, but it's the same with the first chakra or the second chakra. No? When you are giving or receiving, it creates a flow of energy, we can say. Oh?
Yeah. I was taught by this wonderful lady called Peru. She's a singer, and she sings through the chakras. And I was taught this way of breathing. And we're a group of women together, and she got us to take our tops off, which was horrific, to sit there, no tops on us, but managed to get over this. And she got us to sing and to breathe, and she asked us to breathe. So we breathed in through. She says yoni, so pussy, for women to breathe in. And then to breathe that air through up to their womb. And I realised so many women don't even know where their womb is. It's an organ that we've forgotten about.
Yes.
And then to bring that energy up to the heart, and then to allow that energy to flow back down through the breasts is this perfectly, incredibly beautiful pathway of breathing. And for men, it's the other way around. So men, you'd breathe in, and you'd breathe that energy down through your body, and then out through your phallus and back down to the earth. And so there's this way of breathing, an empowered breathing, which just connects the chakras up. And so it's our job at the moment to connect root and heart and crown chakras in us as beings. And if you want to share that with other people, or be like a flower and just enjoying it and sharing it through enjoying it and glowing, either are perfect and divine.
Wonderful.
Divine.
Wonderful. I love it.
Chiltern Voice.
Yeah, and here we are again. And so interesting. And I think it's very important for our listener tonight here on Chiltern Voice to experience that sex has nothing to do with, in the first place, other people out there. It has to do with yourself, right?
Well, of course, sex has got to do with other people. Of course, it has. And so, how I judge you if you're sexual, or if I've got thigh-length leather boots on. So, you might judge that as sexual. So of course it's got to do with other people, but it's also very much about you. It's not just about other people. It's not just about having sex with someone else.
Yes.
It's about a life force. Flowing through you, so that might be that you have raunchy sex with someone, or that might be that you see that as a meditation to the divine, and raunchy sex might be a meditation to divine as well.
Yeah.
There's no barriers here.
Okay, and it is an expression which everyone can express the way they want to express this themselves.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And why do you think it is still so new to our society or to people nowadays? What we are talking about?
We are so interested in judging others, and so to see a freedom, if you see two women kissing, we're a bit horrified.
Yes.
We've sort of got okay with men kissing, but two women, and what does it mean? And
nevertheless, it's also a heterosexual fantasy, I think, seeing two women kissing.
Often.
Yeah.
and what does heterosexual mean anyhow? You know, it's
but we have all these expressions. Yeah,
we have all these labels.
Labels, yeah, that's it.
And how helpful are they? But we're at a time now where things are really changing, and they're changing fast. And so many people have heard of spiritual conversations like The Secret, like the allowing and the law of abundance and the lower. People are aware of things. Life is changing, and it's really rather amazing. We're alive at a very important point in time for this earth, and freeing up judgment from sexuality and allowing sexual energies to be pure and beautiful and non-judged is our duty, and
yes.
It's so important. It's so important. So that's why I'm so pleased to be able to sit with you now and talk about sex.
Yeah, on the radio.
On the radio.
Yeah, live show. It's a live show. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And people from all over the world, they can listen to us now.
Yeah.
And I think in all kind of cultures we have the same issues, haven't we?
Oh, it's very interesting. I was working in a very Muslim area of this country. It was a few months back now. And I was by night I was sleeping on Pendle Hill. Do you know Pendle Hill, the Hill of the Witches?
No, but it sounds
it's
great.
amazing. So I had my car, and I was staying on the hill under a full moon, and connecting with the witches of the hill, and calling on their help. And by day I was working at this centre, and meeting women who were really very hidden. There was a woman she came in, and she was wearing beige, and she had, she had her face covered in a scarf, and she told me at huge length, oh poor soul, about her husband and how he had been unfaithful, and just how it had left her with this terrible pain, and she thought the pain was physical. But every time he wanted to have sex with her, she felt this tremendous pain in her womb. And the more we talked and it was this betrayal that she'd had from her partner that she couldn't tell anybody about, because in her religion to tell anyone would be to disrespect her husband. So she'd kept this quiet. She was in agony every time she was to have sex, and she wanted to have sex because she wanted to prove to her husband that that they were still, that she was the one that he loved, and so
it's this society aspect that.
Well, what I was going to say is, so for her, she had this terrible bodily pain to do with shame and the pain of her husband having an affair, but because of her religion, she couldn't talk about it. And so we found a way that was safe for her to talk about it and free up this pain. So it's sexual pain and distortion is right through all the religions. It's right. It's in every country.
In every
it's just
country,
sometimes
also Christianity.
It needs. It just needs a different understanding of the culture.
And do you know why religion brought this up in us?
There seems to have been, for me, a time at St. Augustine where there was a damning of women, and women that once were priests were married. There is suddenly the priests that were taken away and condemned for being married, and their wives were taken away as well. And so there seems to have been a control of the feminine. And of creativity, really. And so there was a doctrine of original sin was adopted instead of original blessing. I am fascinated by the doctrine of original blessing, where our being born was demonized, so that we were born in sin.
Which is ridiculous. Yeah.
It's been our doctrine for a long time.
Yes.
And so the act of having sex, the act of giving birth, born in sin. And yet, conceiving and holding a child and giving birth to a child is the most beautiful experience ever, and is of course divine.
Yes.
And having sex and making a child is divine, or can be divine. Of course not always. And so the birth of a child, and then being told that is a sin was a doctrinal choice, and it's a very long time ago, and
I don't like that.
No,
not at all.
But isn't that wonderful that you don't like that?
Yeah.
Because we
I found it
weren't even
disgusting.
aware
Yeah.
of that as a choice to not like or
Yes.
And have you read Matthew Fox's work of Original Sin?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh,
No.
I've 2 copies.
Okay, yes.
And it's well, basically, I'll sum it up. Being born is either a positive force or a negative force, and you're either born, believe that you're born and it's a great blessing, or you're born in sin. From my understanding of sin is, I don't know yours, but my understanding of sin is that sin is anything that keeps me away from the divine.
Yes, I agree. And I have a similar explanation
Yeah.
for that. To me, sin is everything what you are not, but you think you are through the ego, through negative ego, for example. And sin only is, you can only sin in regards to yourself, to who you truly are. If you cut some pieces off this true self and put it away in a whatever box, then you are not in charge of it anymore.
I would understand that you absolutely can sin, and it has an impact on other people. So your actions can, you can hurt other people, and that's a sin.
But this comes later, because when you cut off some of your true self, I see it this way,
Yeah.
then you already have a lack of compassion, and with this lack of compassion, you can do awful things. So in the first place, when you really are one with yourself, who you truly are, you wouldn't even go there. You wouldn't even do these things.
Let me tell you a story. I tell you about this man that I met. I was working in a research floor, and he was a patient. I was told he was dying, and nobody went near him. And we couldn't go near him really because there's not a box for sitting with a patient that's dying on the research floor. And so anyhow, I ignored all of this, and I went and sat with him. It's called Brian. I sat with Brian, and I said, "Brian, how are you?" And Brian said he was going to die this horrible death. And I said, oh yeah, okay. I'm going to die a violent, horrible death, says Brian. How do you know that, Brian? Because I could see around Brian this beautiful, holy light all the way around Brian's head, like a halo of light.
Wonderful.
And yeah, but it wasn't in him; it was around
Okay,
him.
around him.
But I could see he was
He
holy.
was waiting for something.
It felt like that.
Yeah, waiting for something or waiting for it to come in.
It felt like
Yeah.
that. So I spoke to Brian. I said, "Brian, why would you be dying a horrific death? A horrible, violent death?" And he said, although he was a churchman now, that when he had been younger, he'd been a violent thief, so he was going to die a horrible death. So I said, "Oh, Brian, can we just talk about God and God's, my understanding of God might be slightly different to yours, because and then we had this little conversation, and he was Christian. He asked if we could pray together. I said, yeah, let's pray together. So we prayed together. I saw the light pour into Brian, and his face just, and so he had held back this divine light because he had a belief that he was bad. But the divine light didn't hold this belief. And the moment that he freed this block...
Never.
No, never,
Yeah,
ever.
Mm.
And so the moment that he freed this block, it poured in. And I was walking... I went on my way quickly, and off I went and did something else. I was walking along the corridor a few days later, and Brian came running over and jumped on me, and he said, "Oh, I thought you were an angel. I thought you were an angel." And I said, No, Brian, I'm really not. And he said, "Do you know what happened to me that day?" I said, "I'd love to hear." And he said that his white cell count in the morning had been 8. And by the evening, after he had forgiven himself and come to a different understanding of what sin was, his white cell count had been 108 in the evening. So he'd basically started to cure leukemia. And so for me, I think we share
Yes.
an understanding there that so sin would be holding the divine back.
Not allowed to enter. Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
Because we are divine, you see, and
we
that's
are
what I
divine.
mean.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
our
yeah.
true self. Our true self
Yeah.
is divinity,
Absolutely.
in organic divinity.
Yeah.
And when we cut off a piece of this, then
Yeah.
it feels as if it's sin. You see.
I would agree. Yeah. I just struggled on
Wonderful.
your terminology, but I would agree that sin would be the blocking back.
Yeah.
So I might do something which I then hold as a punishment in my mind
Yes.
forevermore that I've done this thing. And so that holds the divine back.
Wonderful.
Now,
Yeah.
sadly, the sexual powers that are within us have been judged at
Yes.
some point. We judge them at some point. And so you talked about masturbation before, and
Yeah,
I said to you,
yes.
oh, you know, the word is difficult even, Mark, you know. So in my training, we would call that self-pleasuring. And we would talk about...
Much better
Yeah.
expression.
Yeah, we would talk about allowing your body to feel pleasure and to allow that pleasure, that sensation to ripple all the way through your body, and then to become better and better and better at enabling different sensations. And yet the word masturbation has almost been made a sin, really, hasn't it? Even the word. So if we talk about masturbation, we're sort of allowing naughty schoolboys to masturbate, aren't we? But we're you know, girls masturbating. I mean, you know, it's horrific. You know, you're going to get told off for it. You're certainly going to go.
Yeah, and it's so
you're going to
important.
go to hell for that one, aren't you? You know,
It's self-experience. Yeah,
it's learning. It's learning,
Yeah. And it's also a tool to I think it's a tool from my own very experience to understand that there is energy in our body.
There's energy
There's
pouring
energy,
through our bodies.
Energy in our body.
In so sacred sex is about bringing the divine into the equation,
Yes.
and is to
And realizing that you are divine yourself.
you are divine.
Yeah.
And so we have this energy flowing through the earth, flowing through us and on, that we can connect with.
Yes.
We can connect it through our bodies. We can make sounds whilst we're connecting. We can, you know, we can smell the most amazing smells come. You know, it's all sexually so powerful. If you want.
If you want,
and
yeah.
And you know, you can allow this energy to flow right the way through you, and breathe it in, and you know, God, and you know, it's just this overwhelming
I think
beauty.
I feel the worst thing is whenever when you have a couple or you're in a relationship and the other one shuts down. You shuts down, and then you are left there with your, I'm expressing myself and I love myself so much, but the one who shuts down does not allow you to be in this relationship. See? What do you think about those kind of things? The shutdown.
Yeah, the shutdown it feels incredibly cruel.
Yes.
You know, and there's just this absence, and that's so important at that point to then work on your own energy, because it might be sometimes that I've found that for some people that they may have past lives where they have religious past lives where they have a memory of sometimes. You know, going into abstinence and going into a space of, and
or being also afraid of this energy that exists. Then it's a massive power.
The incredible power,
Yeah.
sexual powerful is sexual energy is so powerful,
Yes.
and the serpent in our society is so often demonized. And so, one of the energies that I would call on whilst working with sexual power is Mother Serpent. So I call on Mother Serpent,
Mother
be
Serpent,
here,
yes.
Mother Serpent.
Kundalini pure Kundalini energy. Yeah, is it?
Mother
Yeah,
Serpent.
wonderful.
Be here. Yeah. And so, in relationship, if you're unable to be met by your partner at that point, they're still you still can meet the beloved. You can still meet an energy within yourself, within the earth, and call on Mother Serpent to be through you, whilst waiting for your partner. And helping your partner in that space.
What do you think about twin flames and soulmates and karmic relationships?
Yeah, it's all very interesting, isn't it? And sometimes I think it's a load of nonsense, because so many people get caught in relationships and someone will tell them, oh, this is a twin flame relationship. My understanding is that we are part of soul families, and we have many soul mate possibilities, which is wonderful. Sometimes you'll meet a person where part of your journey is so intense that twin flame, really, yeah. But it may not be forever. And
Absolutely right,
and if I have a friend,
what I experienced with a twin flame, your entire karma comes up, and you can't bear it. Maybe you have to work out your karma first. Otherwise, you can't really be with this person.
Yeah. It's we're so individual. There's so many individual situations and circumstances, but I find I have spiritual teacher friends that have really put people off on the wrong path by enabling people to see a past life where they've re-met someone in this life from there, and they then try and relive this and get caught again, and so for me,
and then they become stuck in this in the
stuck
thing.
again, all over again, you know. And so sometimes meeting a karmic energy again, well, I think always it's about healing. It's not necessarily about going back into relationship with that person sexually. It's about healing it. And, you know, why has it come up again? What is it? Where is this? And so, you know, with my shamanic training, very much about slipping back in time and seeing, okay, there was some damage done there. Something's not right, which is reoccurring again. Here, right, I'm going to go back. I'm going to put that back to bed. That one's going. We're going to heal that bit so we can move on forwards, which is so important.
Yes.
So soulmates, wonderful, but
might be painful.
but well, I'm not sure that the great need to declare someone as a soulmate is always so helpful. And
what I find amazing is the mirroring. Mirroring, what kind of mirrors someone
the
brings
work
up
you
in
can
us.
do in relationship.
And this is amazing about
Yeah.
twin flame and all kind of relationships. You see,
Well,
that's where I see it. And you can either say yes to it or you say no. And when you say no to it, then the lesson is actually coming up again somewhere else with someone else.
And yet sometimes the lesson of saying no is the lesson. And I've struggled to learn this myself, saying no.
Yeah, me too.
No.
I'm still struggling.
Let's. It's the boundary of no. I don't want to do that.
Yes.
You know, what's wrong with that? You know. So soulmates, very interesting. But I wanted to get you to. I wanted to talk about masturbation.
Yes, okay, let's go back to that. Yeah,
with you,
okay.
because it's.
Yes.
You talked before about a block that you felt within yourself,
Yes.
and I agreed. You know, and so one of the ways to free this block is through self-pleasuring, but with an awareness of moving the energy away from just having it as sexual raw energy that stays in root and the base chakras, but to actually to breathe that up through, to connect it to heart, to connect it to crown during self-pleasuring, and
Wonderful.
to call in the divine with that, so
Yes.
that you're not just doing this as a dirty little pleasure into a
Yes.
sock. You're actually having this as an amazing sexual experience with the divine. So you might call on the goddess to be with you in this
Yes.
moment. The Kundalini, the two serpents, one male, one female, within you, within
Everything.
within everything.
Yes, everything.
So you would ask for the masculine and the feminine within yourself to rise and flow, and then do that in you could do that in partnership with someone else, if that's with a male or a female. This is not important. It's connecting the male and female within yourself and within them.
Very powerful.
Oh, it's so important.
Sitting here in the studio with you, I already feel something. It's elevating.
It's so important.
Yes, great.
And
Thank
so
you.
Instead of seeing sex as, I think it's wonderful to see sex as dirty and let's get
all kind of
dirty.
ways, of course,
yeah, why
yeah.
not? But there's something so beautiful about self-pleasuring to enable a powering up of energy, a pouring through of Mother Serpent through your system.
Absolutely right. Wonderful. Yeah, and I think our listeners, they
Hundreds of them.
hundreds or thousands or millions, they are inspired by that. I feel, no.
I hope so, Mark. I hope so.
This is so great, wonderful. Yeah, and now we go to the news and some ads before, and then we are back in the next hour, and we have so much more to say. I think, Pea, haven't we?
Yeah,
so much.
non-stop. Yeah.
Non-stop. And we carry on doing this, and we are willing to give you the best spiritual entertainment here in the world. Chiltern Voice makes it possible. Thank you very much. The show is changing people's life, I feel. Wonderful. So come back with us in some minutes, seconds. No? Let's do it now. Yes? Okay.
This is Chiltern Voice.
Themselves the permission to feel pleasure.
Yes, but imagine what I realized the other day was even dyeing your hair was forbidden in the past, or it was not common, or dyeing.
You could dye natural colours, couldn't you?
Maybe,
you know,
yes, but
to go blue or to go pink or.
But it's all forbidden, you see. But if I want that, then why shouldn't I go for it?
Yeah. Well, you know, if it's we sort of had a period of time, didn't we, where we challenged all these barriers, and then it got a bit boring, you know, challenging everything. And now there's got to be a way of finding a beautiful path which is specific for you and specific for me, and it allows me to be happy and to have fun, and to be a sensual, sexual, powerful being, whether that's in relationship or not, and to see that as a duty rather than a privilege.
Yes, and. Even old people. Now, I think that sexuality is also important for them.
Old people,
yes.
It's just amazing. Yeah. I met this couple a few weeks ago, and they had been sent by their GP to just about every specialist you could think of, to rheumatology, to dermatology, to endocrinology, to something I can't remember. All these different ologies, and I saw the couple and. I listened to their story, and they're in their 70s, and not one of these practitioners that had met with the couple had even thought for one moment that they were having sex. And this gentleman, he had this really, really, really awful reaction on his penis, which everybody decided was an immunological issue or cancer or something. And actually, when I talked to them, these two were, having rocking sex, and she was using this lubricant which he was sensitive to. It's pretty flipping basic. But because they're in their 70s, that's not even a possibility, is it? Because they couldn't be having sex. And as clinicians, they're not going to talk about. They're not going to ask about sex. But the first thing I said to them was, right, hang on, that's your penis. So are you having sex? And they said, yeah. And they were telling me all sorts they were getting up to, and I just laughed. It was wonderful. I said, thank you so much for explaining. And so I taught her about the jade egg, which is crystal, which is an amazing exercise for women. As you get older, it's possible to get vaginal dryness, and so the jade egg, just it's like fountain times. And so I was teaching her about this so that she wouldn't need a lubricant. Then I was teaching her about natural lubricants rather than cheap ones that she was buying in the supermarket. And it just made me laugh. We laughed I laughed with this couple because no one at all had even considered the possibility that they were having amazing sex.
You see?
And it's like, why wouldn't they be having amazing sex?
Yeah, but nowadays we live in a society where everything has to stay young, and we have to stay young, and we are not allowed to get old. You rather die than getting old.
You say that, but our society is aging, and I know.
But it's not sexy anymore. Others or the brands or whatever.
You say that, but isn't Helen Mirren the sexiest woman? Ever. Yes. What age is she? So yes, but it's changing. It's changing, and it's an amazing time. When my mum. She's died, but when my mum reached a certain age, she went and bought herself a yellow MG and started to dress quite sassily, and I was like,
Wonderful.
hang on, what's going on here?
Yeah,
and,
great.
and so retirement used to mean something so different to that
Yes.
it does now. You can still retire and give up if you want, can't you? But so many people aren't, and are having amazing sex lives. But that's when speaking to somebody that has a knowledge of sex is really quite helpful, because they may have come out of a relationship where there hasn't actually been very much sex, and they're just refining this, or as I say, things are drying up or dropping off, and you've got to find other ways of working, and other ways of having sex.
And when people come to see you, you as a counselor there, as a life coach, yeah, and they have issues in their sexual life, what kind of therapy can you deliver there?
Well, I mostly work on like Skype with people.
Yes.
And so it's talking and listening. I listen. And normally we can unpick what the problems are really quickly, and I can give information about how to move things on. One of the biggest problems I've found for our society at the moment is desensitizing. So it's so easy to access porn, really hardcore porn.
Yes.
Very, for children, for all ages, on your mobile phone.
Yes.
And, you can sit next to people on the tube watching porn, and, it's full on. And so when people are masturbating, using quite full-on porn, the grip on their penis it can be so fierce that they need that level of stimulation when they go back into relationship.
Okay.
And so people, and this is all ages, so
what makes it artificial?
they find it very difficult to have sex with a person without the graphic nature of porn, or the overstimulation of really, 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 bashing down on themselves. And so it's teaching to reconnect to heart, so that they feel sensitivity, they feel again.
Yeah, but maybe this is also frightened then for them, isn't it?
Well, it's terrifying when you suddenly, you might have been in a relationship for, 30 years and had a really good relationship with your partner, and then suddenly you bring a bit of porn in and you no longer can get it up with your partner because you've got to be watching that. And so your partner, they get into this cycle, or your partner thinks, well, he doesn't love me anymore because, I'm getting old, and so he doesn't love me, so and before you know it, it's terrifying, and you're in this.
The entire comparison begins then.
Oh, horrendous! Huh? And and so you're at a place there of like, I'm not valid anymore because my partner doesn't find me attractive, because they can't get. When actually they may be finding you attractive, they've just got themselves used to something so flipping horrific porn-wise, and so the nature of relationship now is that for many people they go straight into porn. Yes. Rather than actually meet. And so you played a song before, which is, the kiss.
Yes.
Or was it one kiss is all it takes?
Yes, all it takes, yes.
And it's so important, because in Tantra, in the teaching of the divine, the kiss is the mouth. It's so beautiful, and it's so important to slow things down and to get back to that sensitivity.
Slow things down. This is a lovely expression.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so for so many men,
tenderness,
yeah. Gentle,
yes,
gentle, soft, and slow, and it's the most sexy thing.
Yes,
it's the most sexy thing. So men will think that women, they want boof, 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 boof.
Yes.
And there are times when that's exactly what a woman wants.
Yes,
but the most powerful places you can take a woman to is by very slow build up of something incredible, and that's
but I think it's the same for men, isn't it? Because when you really give yourself time, I can talk about my own experience. When you give you time, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
I think it's so important for men.
Yeah.
But a lot of gay sex is about, so much of it is so macho, and it's about, it's straight to sex.
Yes.
And that's great, but to slow
Boring.
that. Well,
there's a certain point where it gets boring.
I think it's very shallow, and that's fine, but there's so much more there.
There's so much more there. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
and looking at you while you say it, you are radiating. You are radiating.
Oh, yeah,
I love it. Wonderful. So we create this energy here in the studio already. You see, I love it. Yeah.
And that's the thing. When your listener said before about asexual,
Yes,
you bring a sexual energy, as one, fabulous, as two, amazing, as three, into a group.
Yes.
And I'm not talking orgy. I'm talking. Although,
but this also can happen. Why not? Why not? Yeah. If people are open for that, no, we shouldn't say it's an awful thing. No, it's great.
If that's what everybody is consenting to. But I've been in many ceremonies where many people are together, calling in a sexual energy, connected in with the ground, and so sexy, so powerful, and you walk away from those just.
Yes. And what kind of men do allow themselves to enter those kind of experiences nowadays?
What kind of men?
Because I don't know anyone
to enter those experiences. I can only say from what I've heard and from from being in ceremony,
yes,
that I've found the men to be very much respectful of the divine feminine.
Okay, but are there also macho men or only soft men?
No, they would be very capable masculine men. So that would be that they would be allowers, enablers of the feminine.
Yes.
They don't need to control that.
Good.
So that they would be able to allow a woman to become a gateway for them.
Yes.
They don't have to hold that back, really.
Good.
So that's the true masculine, really.
Yes, this is the true masculine. I agree. Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
But sometimes a bit macho is also very sexy. No?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I love all the calendars of the firemen. It's just fabulous.
Yeah,
firemen calendars. Yeah. And I've got friends that have done the same training as me, and they see their work very much as teaching men to be incredible lovers and to be very masculine, to be very powerful. Different strokes, different folks.
Yes.
For me, the sacred aspect of sex, and then the power that you can attract from that. So to work with sacred sex so that you are calling in the divine, and then you are praying for working with the law of attraction to call in certain things is incredibly powerful. That's very special work.
Good. Yeah, wonderful. And I think the act of praying itself, where you connect yourself on a conscious level with the divine, brings in energy.
Yeah, I'd like to challenge you with the word praying, though, because so praying, beautiful, and that can be at an altar, and that can be meditating on top of a mountain, but by God, why can't it be in bed and praying at the altar of the cervix?
Of course, I agree.
Praying at the altar, and so prayer
simpler.
Prayer in the bedroom, prayer in the temple of the bedroom. Wow!
But prayer to me is conversation with God. No, God is my best friend. God is my best friend
through your body.
Yeah, I have no boss I have to work for. Okay, and it's only God, you see. And why shouldn't be my best friend? It is.
God, your best friend, your savior, your everything.
No? And I have an absolute normal conversation with God.
Why can that not be through your cock?
Yeah. Maybe I still have to work on it. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yes.
You know, and so part of
right.
part of our bodies, we've sort of, you know, at school you're taught that these zones that are, you know, naughty zones, and actually the phallus
Yes.
is this amazingly powerful divine organ.
Yes.
I ask you to see it as prayer.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you are right. But, you know, we need people like you who bring in this awareness. Otherwise, we don't know what to do. You see, you can meditate or you can pray or whatever, and you don't get enough insight or understanding about what happens and how you can play with these energies or how you can cope with these energies even.
Yeah, you do, and you can, and if you ask the divine, you are shown.
Yes.
But there's a path where there's people can teach as well, and so I can teach a bit further along the path than some others may be able to find themselves, and that's an amazing privilege, isn't it? That I've that training.
But you come from a very soft place. You're not you're not
in this moment in time.
I love it. Yeah, okay, but at the moment, what I sense from you is that you are very much you can be very intimate, very very close. It means very close. And also here now with me in the studio, and it's an uplifting energy, and it feels safe.
Yeah,
which is great. It feels safe, you see. And but we need the
done a lot of
safetiness.
work on that, though, Mark. I feared intimacy for many, many years, as many people do, and so I chose to work with that block really and to free it, because it was easier for me to speak to animals, or to be with trees.
Same for me. I can talk to nature spirits, everything. But this part is still a bit.
But to connect with a person.
Yes.
And so I learnt. I was taught by this fabulous teacher called Shelby. I learnt to be able to have eye contact.
Yes.
I learnt that, and it's very recent, because I would look away, because it's just terrifying.
Okay, yes.
It was terrifying to gaze into someone's eyes. I could do it if you made me do it. And there would be lots of spiritual gatherings where we did eye gazing, and I'd do it, but the pain of it. But now I enjoy that connection. I enjoy connecting with you.
Yeah.
And so I've learnt that.
Yes.
Because that was my block.
Yeah, this is not my block. My block must be something else. I'm capable to do that with anyone.
Your block, you stated your block before, and you were conscious of it. And being conscious of it is important, and stating it is important, because then it starts to heal. And so
Wonderful.
That's why I challenged you with about areas of your body not being divine. Of course, they're divine.
And darling, yesterday I went to see my osteopath. You see, wonderful osteopath, by the way. And he always feels that I am not fully in my body. You see, my entire spirit hasn't really arrived in my body.
Yeah.
And we work on it. You see, but this what you are saying now it makes absolute sense in regards to what I'm actually doing myself. But with you, it's as if it's like a burner. It pushes a bit far. It's really pushing. It's, We see what happens.
I would ask you to breathe the energies in. You breathe its mouth in and out.
Wonderful.
And you breathe it in. It's fast. It's a fast, deep breath. And you breathe it in, and you breathe down to your heart. As a man, this is the man's breathing. Down to your heart. And then you breathe it down, and you breathe it down to your just sort of belly, and then you breathe it down to prostate. Hold it in a prostate, then down into your testes, and then through your cock, and then you're giving that back to Mother Earth.
Yes. And what about the legs? The legs are also important, or?
Well, try it.
The legs.
Try it, Mark.
Through feet, you can also put energy out.
But try it.
I'm doing it now already, and tomorrow I tell you I go into the woods tomorrow with my dog, and this will be my first practice. Wonderful.
You can do this sat anyway. You can do this sat now.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, we can.
And it's just sitting and calling. Like, you just sit really, really solidly and calling in Mother Serpent. Mother Serpent, be with me.
Wonderful. And here she is. And now we have some ads.
Chiltern Voice.
Your station, your voice.
Yeah, and here we are again with our voice. Hello, this is Chiltern Voice, Marc Altmann Show. And P is here, and we have a wonderful time. And I learned already so much, and I think it would be so nice if you, the listener, also can take so much out of it, but I think you will, or you do already. And if you want to call us, or if you want to send another WhatsApp or whatever, no, please feel free to do so. Chiltern Voice number, the landline is 01494 911 922. What am I talking here? The number is 01494 911 922. Okay. And Pea, what do you think? What comes up next?
What comes up next? What comes up next?
Yeah.
I was thinking when we were talking about when people want to be very good, there's this, sometimes oaths can be made in previous lives a long time ago about chastity, about being good, and so there's this conscious cutting off of sexual powers.
Yes.
Choice, a promise made a long time ago for poverty, chastity, and so somehow in our psyche, culturally and individually, there may have been decisions that to be a very good person, I will not be sexual.
Ah, okay, yeah.
But that's a bit like telling that amazing flower, you're not going to flower. Because actually sexuality is so important a part of us. And so we were just talking there about freeing up some of this sexual energy,
yes,
in a beautiful way, not a dysfunctional, ugly way, to allow some of this energy forward. And it's possible to do that in everyday life so easily through walking and consciously asking, as each beat of your walk, I'm allowing this to flow through. I am allowing the serpent to flow through me. And the demonizing of this sexual energy has gone on a bit too long, really. And it's one of the powers within us that it's time to go back and to break those oaths, to break the oath of chastity and to allow ourselves now to connect in, to plug into our sexuality and to be really powerful beings, to attract into and to create our worlds. And sexual energy is all about creating. It is the creative life force.
It is.
So
yes.
if that's cut off, what is it? It's a bit like having a Ferrari in the garage, but I don't know where the key is to the garage. So I'm just going to leave it in the garage.
Yes.
And it's such a shame, isn't it? Because I've got a Ferrari in the garage.
Yeah, or you have a
throbbing red Ferrari.
Or you have $1 billion on your bank account and you don't use it.
Yeah, and I've forgotten the PIN number.
The PIN number for
And so what I'm doing is I'm going to the bank, and I'm using the other bank account. I haven't got very much money in it, but in that account there I've got millions. And so it's just remembering the PIN number, and I want you to remember the PIN number. Let's remember the PIN number together, because it's not that difficult,
Wonderful.
And finding the key to the garage of the Ferrari, and it's easy.
Yes.
It's just allowing yourself the permission to do this, and to say, actually I am a sexual being, and
yes.
Sexual energy is the serpent is not evil. The serpent is not evil. And I'm no longer going to believe that it's evil. The dragon is my power. There's a church in just outside of Cambridgeshire in what's it called? Burwell. No, not Burwell. Bartlow. Amazing church, and it's next to these 7 hills, Bartlow Mounds, and the Michael line, I was telling you that's the male energy line, goes through the tallest of these. And it's possible to stand on top of this hill. There's stairs up to it. Stand on top of it and to just shout out, call back your masculine power, whether you're a woman or a man. Call back this masculine and demand it returns. And I take people up there and we walk round 3 times at the top. And then I get them to jump into this little cauldron that's at the top. And when they come back out, they have changed. And I ask them to call back their divine masculine. and to take on board the dragon energies. And when you go into the little church at the bottom, there's a church, and on the wall in the church is a dragon painted on the wall. And so often, dragons are demonized, and you don't see them in churches, but here it is in this church,
Yeah, but
next to the
dragons, that they protect the ley lines, or they either protect the entrance doors to the ley lines, is what I know.
Yeah, and they are the ley lines. And so, and if you do the pilgrimage of the Michael and Mary lines, you'll find that I think it's St. Margaret and St. Michael and St. George are, they're all with the dragons, and they're throughout the churches along the pilgrimage routes are these the saints who either control or kill or manage the serpents.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
Yeah,
It's really
and these
fascinating.
are the stories that we know from hero stories.
Yes. Yeah.
The hero has to kill the dragon or whatever they do. What is killing?
Master
The
yeah.
dragon. Yes.
So whether it might be kill or it might be take control of, but a mastering of. And so you talked about really powerful energies before, and sometimes it's about learning to put a plug on the end of this sort of live wire, so that you've a way of communicating this energy to people rather than it looking dangerous. It's a way of communicating it. So sometimes the softness is needed to be able to.
Yes. And we also spoke about the Black Madonna, and the Black Madonna power can be also very expressive, very, very like a volcano.
Very much so.
Very much.
The dark feminine.
Yes, the dark feminine.
Yeah.
But from there, new things are growing, aren't they? I think.
You've got to think always. The lotus is rooted in the mud. So we prefer to see the flower, but we forget.
Yeah, I agree.
And so the Madonna of the earth, the Madonna in the earth, and the black feminine, the dark feminine is so important. And so many people are scared, witless of the dark feminine. So, the spider represents the dark feminine, and, everyone's frightened of spiders. And yet the dark feminine is absolutely a guardian of a space in time which is all about growth.
Yes.
Which is all about, it's like the dark moon. It's all about the seed germinating in the dark.
Yes.
It needs the darkness.
It needs it, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you dig it out too early, then it wouldn't grow.
Yeah. Deformed.
So we all need darkness.
Yeah. It's like that's like the butterfly in the chrysalis stage.
Yes.
But take it out of the chrysalis and it can't survive. It needed that stage of growth. Yeah.
And the baby in mum's tummy.
It comes out too soon. What happens? Yeah, it doesn't make it. Yeah. It's a very important stage, and we have these transitions in our lives that I certainly have wanted to rush through quite a few of them, rather to experience them. And
of course, I think we all went through the same there. No, we all wanted to rush, but it's not possible. Not possible.
Well, it's not good for you.
Not good for you.
Yes. And so there are rites of passage, which are so important.
Yes. And
so the celibacy is an incredibly important spiritual practice.
Yes.
And withholding the energy within you is an incredibly important practice, and so is stating your sexual power and owning your sexual power and holding it and sharing that with others is another incredibly important sexual practice.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's so amazing to talk to you. I just forgot to play music, you see, but now I think we go for
what are we going to have?
One. We have one. I think we have I Just Died in Your Arms.
Oh,
you like it?
fabulous.
Yes? But the new one from Komodo, okay? Yes, not the old one. And we will be back very soon.
I should have walked away.
Yeah, and we are not dying tonight, but we are
dying in your arms.
Yes,
that sounds fabulous.
That's fabulous.
The tiny death.
Yes, and from there, new life is coming up. You see, it's I think we all have to let go from time to time in our life. Maybe with our breathing in and breathing out, it's already a symbolism that whenever we take something on board, we have to also let go of it.
Yes.
Otherwise, we can't stay in the flow of life.
Yes,
and I think it's the same with sexuality, isn't it?
It is. Yes, and that letting go has so different. We hold things, don't we? You don't want to let go. We want to hold and collect and gather. But the gift of letting go. So important to breathe in.
Without losing anything. You see,
you gain.
Yeah,
you gain.
We gain.
Yeah.
But most people are trained that we are all frightened
Oh, well,
and
we've
fearful of
known
losing.
We've known poverty. We've known, we've known hunger, and so we hold.
Yes.
We hold stuff. But actually, if we believe in the divine flow, we don't need to hold. And I'm struggling to say that because I am someone who really tries to hold. I'm a real collector of holding stuff.
Okay.
But yeah.
Clutter.
I hold. But the belief that the universe is constantly flowing.
Yes.
And that, of course, is so important with sexual energy. So people will go to the doctors with sexual pain, with too much bleeding, with prostate problems, and really it's there's a blockage in the sexual flow, and it's about encouraging this flow, encouraging the flow.
Yes.
Or there's an understanding, a judgment in place. I met this wonderful woman. She was quite famous, and I did some work for her, working with the drum, and we were drumming, and I journeyed, and she journeyed at the same time, and her there were all these indigenous beings, and they were clapping. They were so pleased that she was there, that she'd arrived. And there was this tent, and in the tent there was this sort of amazing throne chair, and they wanted her to sit on it in the journey. And in the journey she said, I can't sit on it. I can't sit on it. I can't sit on that. I'm not good enough to sit on it. And eventually I convinced her to sit on this chair in the journey, and they all clapped, and they were like, whoa, and that was the end of the journey. And she looked exhausted, and she was just And it turned out that she had been bleeding really, really heavily for I think it was over a year, and she'd been to all these amazing gynecologists in Harley Street, and nothing would get this better. But her psyche, her soul, wanted her to take on board an aspect of herself and not see it as bad. Her sexuality. And so she had taken on this sexual power by sitting on this throne, and the moment she'd taken on this sexual power, she stopped bleeding. And she phoned me and she said, I stopped bleeding. I said, I didn't know you had a problem with bleeding. She goes, I'd got used to it. She said, but the moment I sat on that seat, I stopped bleeding. And so
this is so great.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful because her sexually, she had this dysfunctional understanding, a blockage, which all these beings wanted her to see it as her divine right. She was to sit on the throne. She was a goddess. Okay. So the moment she sat on the throne and she accepted her divinity, her spectacularness. She gave herself permission to be amazing and sit on the throne. Then she took that powerful place, and whatever had been wrong before, I don't know what was wrong with her, had stopped being wrong, and she was well. And she then went on and made some really powerful decisions in her life, and I was privy to some of that she was doing. But so it was this taking on of sexual power and saying, yes, I am good enough. I'm clean enough.
Also, I think we are entitled to do that.
She was so entitled to do that that these beings saw the chair as hers. The throne had been waiting for her. It was hers. It was like their lives depended on her sitting on this throne.
Only this mindset has blocked her from this.
The belief that it was something to do with cleanliness, that she wasn't clean enough, that she was going to infect her. Oh, Mark, I must tell you about this man. I met this chap, and he had a most appalling herpes, like you'd never believe was even possible. He had like a third bum cheek of herpes. It was terrible, and I was repulsed like everybody else, and so I was quite honest, and I said to him, yes, I'm so sorry, but I've really, really found it difficult to spend time with you as a clinician. And somewhere in that honesty of saying that to him enabled a conversation where he ended up healing himself of the herpes. And
how did he do this?
What
have you done there?
He was set to have surgery to have this area removed, and he was going to have a colostomy and everything afterwards, and it was just so horrific. And when we talked, because I was honest and said to him, I'm so sorry, I've judged you, and I'm so sorry, it enabled a conversation which which because it was really awful. I judged him. I shouldn't have judged him, but I had, and I was honest
you all
about
have
it.
certain kind of limits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I decided to be honest about this and to
Yes.
apologise.
Wonderful.
And because
Well done.
of that, it allowed a gateway for him to say how he really felt and how he felt disgusting and dirty and da-da-da. And it turned out that he had this ancestral line of abuse. So he had been abused, and it had gone along many,
Yes.
generations back of abuse. And so me looking at him like he was repulsive fitted for him.
Yes.
And so in the conversation, so I saw him daily for weeks after, and because I had been honest about
Yes.
being repulsed, which meant that he could discuss that he felt repulsive. By the time he went for surgery to have this plaque of herpes removed, there was only a tiny little bit needed removing. He basically healed himself, and he started to. We had conversations that he hadn't been able to have because he thought everybody hated him and he was dirty and nobody could talk to him, even if they knew he had this herpes thing or not. His psyche. He was
so much
giving
shame,
out. Yeah, terrible shame. Ancestral familial line of shame, sexual shame. And so, because I had been judgmental and nasty, but then honest,
Yes.
it had opened a conversation which allowed him to be honest. And he then talked about, and he had 2 young daughters, and he said, I want to stop this here. I want this family issue to not go to my daughters. I have to deal with it. And so he worked to clear it, and he cleared his family's issues of sexual shame. Shame's right, Mark. It is shame and disgust. He cleared it. And I was so proud of him. And I was appalled that I'd made this judgment, but grateful too that I had, because without the honesty of that, we would never have, I would have judged him like I wouldn't
Yes.
have, I would have avoided him, and
Yes.
we would have missed this healing opportunity. So me being humanly cruel was actually perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
And I learnt so much from that man about how the mind can create areas of illness for opportunity for us to see the healing that is needed. So I'm so on many levels that's saying that I'm not saying that he definitely had that disease and it was really awful, but it had manifested to show where the issues were, so that he could consciously heal them. It was beautiful.
Wonderful.
It was
I love
beautiful.
it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just a second, then we are back here.
This is Chiltern Voice.
Yeah, and I think with this example that you have given us, it's so important to understand that everything is holistic and we have to see it from all kind of angles.
Yeah.
Now, the mindset from this past life actually was, for this man, this was the point, and this was a trigger point for a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same for all of us.
Well, and also the memory had been held genetically.
Yes.
But we have memories held in landscapes as well. And I was told by a friend, I know Chesham well, but I don't know Amersham so well. And my friend said that at the church that there is a I don't know if it's a monument or a marker to the site as being a place of the witch hangings. Do you know
In
that?
Amersham?
Yeah, near the church apparently. And
Okay.
so you can get memories in place
Yes.
as well as in
Yes.
the person. And so in this area, my friend was saying that Amersham would have a memory of some of the judgment of women there, and not just women, of magical, old people and crippled people and magical people being judged and hanged in apparently near the church. I don't know it. And so
Imagine you and I sitting here in this studio now, yeah?
Yeah.
And this 300 years ago.
oh god, even just a few years ago.
Yeah, or a few years ago. No?
Yeah.
I think it is amazing that we are now capable to do this here.
Yeah, It's astonishing.
Astonishing,
Yeah.
astonishing.
To be able to talk about otherness
Yes, otherness.
is so important. Because
Oneness and diversity, I always call it. The oneness and diversity. you see?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I've been fortunate enough to have lots of amazing experiences, and sometimes I've been able to take those into church settings and been able to talk about them at the front of the church.
Wow. Good.
And so, yeah, it's I think it's, if you can find a group of people that aren't going to judge you. I'm very happy in pagan meetings, and I'm very happy in church meetings, and it's so important. But what I was going to say is that, so if there's a place in time and in space that has got a memory held in it of judgment, it's beautiful, but sometimes it's possible to move that, and to move that, to redefine what's going on there, and to change that energy back to beauty. So this man, I can't remember his name, who managed to do his healing by making sure it didn't continue into the future. He went back into the past, so he healed the past, and he healed his present, which was healing his future. And it's possible to do that in spaces, in place as well.
Yes.
And so that I wondered if you knew of this place in Amersham.
No, I don't, but
No.
I think I will find out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know the place where I come from, Germany, you see, with the Nazi
Germany.
history. That's huge, no?
Yeah.
And it still needs healing, and it is healing. It is healing, definitely.
Yeah. It's so very difficult. It's so very difficult. The judgment of others, and the and which we do. And I was telling you, I had judged this man, which we do as humans.
Yes.
But I think some of the judgment, and then not being honest about making that judgment, is and hiding it is one of the most dangerous things.
Hiding, yeah.
Hiding that you've had that judgment. I try really hard to be aware of where my bias is, so that I can deal with it. But yes, your country has a very difficult recent past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the UK too, and England too.
Goodness,
With
yeah.
Colonism. And,
Well, we still have that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at some of our the places where we put asylum seekers now, they're pretty appalling. But we choose not to see that.
Yes.
We
Yes.
choose to look away. And so, when you say about Germany, I've forever thought, I wonder how people had concentration camps next to them,
Yes.
and chose not to see that.
Yeah.
But we're doing that now with the asylum seekers places that are, they're astonishingly awful.
Yes.
Yet we don't see it.
Absolutely right.
We don't see it.
Yeah.
It's easy
We don't
not to
want
see,
to. We don't want to see it. This
which is how evil is
Yes.
allowed to work.
Mhm.
We don't want to see it.
Yeah. No? And Jesus said, if there was a sin, it's what is it? An English word I forgot. Not to cut something off, or not to be blind, or not to see something.
Yeah.
What is this?
Well, that not to see.
Yeah, not to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is also a part of sin.
That is how evil exists, isn't it?
Yes.
By choosing not to see. So the fact that I had judged this man, it's not very good. But I fortunately found a way to be honest about that. Which then the reward for me was watching him heal and be taught so much by that. So it's so lucky.
But when you think about Mother Teresa, what she did in India,
Mother Teresa, yeah. Amazing.
Astonishing.
Yeah. But then I was listening to a lady last night on social media, and she had rescued a little dog that was about to be put down for having bitten someone. And we're all capable of great acts of kindness, aren't we? Too.
Yes.
We can all be Mother Teresa in our own way, which is
right. Yes.
It's a choice, isn't it? You can choose to be a beautiful person.
Yeah, and this is then that you call a spiritual life.
Yes.
Yeah. What is a spiritual life for you? How would you describe it?
Well, for me, it's very much about being in community with other people and connecting to other people, and to trying to be honest with that, to enable growth, my own growth and theirs through honesty. But I've managed now to get some discipline into that life as well. So I wake up and I give thanks for. I think a lot of my spiritual work now is about giving thanks.
Wonderful.
It's so important.
It is.
As you know, if I wake up in a bad mood and I start to give thanks, then you can't stay in a bad mood for too long, really, can you?
No, I don't like it. No.
If I give thanks for this beautiful bedroom. I give thanks for this bed. I give thanks for warmth. I give thanks for some really humble things. And wow. Very quickly you remember just how blessed you are.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are nearly in the end now. This nearly
can that
Yeah,
be?
it's incredible, isn't it? 2 hours, and I could have another hour with you. This wouldn't even be an issue.
just us wittering on.
Yeah, let's do that. No, but for our listeners, in regards to sexuality, what would you give them as an advice? In a few sentences,
I give them permission.
Permission.
I
Okay.
give them permission to have pleasure. And that pleasure, maybe, if they were to I suppose one of the easiest ways to have pleasure is to do beautiful things. So I give them permission to have very long, beautiful, warm, scented baths with candles, and to enjoy the pleasure of that in their body. I give them permission to eat beautiful food and to feel that food on their mouths, to taste it, to smell it. I give them permission to listen to beautiful music. I give them permission to gaze into the eyes of another. That is sexuality. I give them permission to blossom like a beautiful flower. That is sexuality. If they choose to get their rocks off too, fab. But sexuality is about feeling the skin that you are in, feeling it. It's allowing your body to move, to dance. It's allowing yourself to make sounds and beautiful sounds. It's allowing yourself to actually feel, do you know that hurts? Let me breathe into it and let it move. That is sexuality. So
Wonderful.
I give permission for people to be sexual beings and to be in their bodies.
And to lose their fear.
To be aware of their fears.
Okay, to be aware of
to
their
breathe
fear.
through their fears.
Very good.
And sometimes there's a reason for that fear. So,
Yes.
if I am about to walk down a lane and it's scary, that fear is a very helpful guide to me to not walk down that lane.
Very much. Yeah.
So I'm not asking them to drop fear. No. Fear is helpful to a point, but I'm asking them to try and look at what that block is, and is it one that they're choosing, or is it unconscious? Is it maybe out of date? Can I breathe some love and air into it? Can I pour some light into it? What happens? So no, if you're stood at the end of a very scary alleyway and you're frightened, don't go down it. That's fine. But if you can put a light on and walk down it with someone else and not be frightened, that's fab, isn't it? So so it's aware that your body will be holding. The body has an amazing memory, and so it may be remembering, like that man with the herpes. It may be remembering shame.
Yes.
And actually, maybe you want to make a different choice. And and so it's allowing the mind, the soul, the experience to start to pour in light where there is only fear and stagnant energy.
Wonderful.
So I give permission to flower.
How can people reach you? Telephone number or
you've
Instagram?
connected on Facebook, haven't you? And
you and I, we are on Facebook now.
Yeah. And I'll come again here because this is an amazing. I loved being with you, Mark. It's fabulous.
Thank you, me too.
And we well, if they get in touch with you, and then we can see what the best way to work. Yeah.
Yes. So if anyone is interested, you can call me, or you can go on Facebook to Marc Altmann, or to Pea. How do you spell your name?
Ramshaw.
Ramshaw.
Yeah. You can say it really sexily though, Mark.
Very
and it's
much.
Ramshaw.
Thank you. Wonderful. Well
Yeah.
done. Yeah. So let's do that. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Would you like to come back again? To
That'd
one
be
of my
fabulous.
shows?
Yeah. I'd love
Let's
to.
do that.
I'd love to.
And the next show will be not next week. Next week I'm in Germany and I give a seminar there in Berlin.
What are you giving a seminar on?
I forgot it. I about the ego, whatever. I don't know what it
Oh,
was,
wow.
but it's,
Yeah.
The title I always forget. Sorry.
Yeah.
But then I'm back here in the studio on the 30th of January, and I know and I'm convinced that this will be also an amazing show. And yeah, thank you so much for having been here with us. Thank you, P, for having been here. And yeah, this is the beginning of something new and big. And for you there, too. You are the one who is the most important person in your life. Don't forget that. And spiritual entertainment that we're doing here, it's not only entertainment, but it's entertainment. And you are the spiritual person.
Devotional entertainment.
Devotional entertainment.
Yeah.
That's a very good
Yeah.
expression, yes. And yeah, thank you for having been with us here. And good night, wherever you are on this planet. And yeah, I look forward to talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.